How is this different than what we just did yesterday? 3, 2, 1. Okay, kinda. It's a what? It's a system of inequalities. Yesterday I gave you one inequality and said graph it. Now we have two. Okay, what do you think we do? Graph both of them. Okay, we'll graph both of them and we'll talk about it.
After you graph both of them, you find how they divide and then shade it darker where they divide.
Yeah. Okay, so the first graph starts at -2, has a slope of 1. Let's go ahead and close Chromebooks. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. I gave you a ruler. Is it a dotted or a solid line? Dotted line. Okay, and I'm not going to shade. Not yet. The next one starts at +1, has a slope of -1. So down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Dotted or solid? Solid line. We're going to shade the region that works for both. So what we're going to do is, how many regions do we have here? 4. So we're only going to shade either the top, the bottom, the left, or the right. What we need to do is we need to find one point and hopefully get lucky. And if those points work in both of them, then we're done.
0, 0.
We could try 0, 0. Okay? So if I try 0, 0, give myself some space down here. The first one would be 0 is greater than -2. That works. And 0 is less than or equal to 1. So that is the correct region. So this is the region that should be shaded. I thought box are back by popular demand. You don't like the boxes? Yeah. So we got lucky there. How many times could you have to do it before you get it right? 4, right? Up to 4. Next one starts at +2, has a -1 slope. So I go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Dotted or dotted or solid. The next one starts at -2. Goes down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Solid or dotted.
Oh, shucks.
It's weird when they don't intersect, but it's not no solution because it's what region works. I think we should test 0, 0. Okay? If I test 0, 0, I get 0 is greater than 2. Is that true? As soon as one of them is bad, then 0, 0 is not as bad, right? So that's not good. Okay, let's try another region. Yeah, Parker. Say again? 3, 3. So 3 is greater than or equal to -3 plus 2. Yep. So is 3 greater than 1? So that it worked for the first. Now I got to check the second. 3 is less than -3 minus 2. No. So that one doesn't work. So let's try one more region. So we tried 0, 0. I don't even want to put a dot there because it's not there. Try 3, 3. Let's try -3, -3. So the first one would be -3 is greater than or equal to -3 plus 2, which is -3 is greater than 5. Nope. So that region doesn't work. So what's the answer?
No solution.
This time it is no solution. No region will work.
So if any of them are parallel.
Then we might get in. It's usually in between, but it also could be no solution. Right? It's not always no solution. We just got to check those 3 regions. Okay. Next one. Sometimes people get confused. What is my y-intercept on this one? 0. So it's kind of nice to write plus 0. So this one starts at 0, goes up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, dotted or solid line. The next one starts at -3, and it is a horizontal line. It's, in theory, the slope is 0 on this. So it's this way, dotted or solid? Dotted. So we get our 4 regions. We can't test 0, 0 here because it actually hits 0, 0. Anybody feeling lucky? Yeah, Brody. -4, 0. We're going to check that region. As soon as it doesn't work in one of them, we can stop. So is 0 less than -8 for the first one? No. So that's not a good region. I'm conflicted on how to represent that that's not the right region. I don't know. I feel like I should put like an eraser there.
Put like a big X. I just put an X in the region.
But then okay, I like the X, but that might turn into looking like shading. I don't think I would. I think I would understand what you're saying, but it's got nothing there. Yeah. What? Can you shoot that? What do you guys think?
Yes. If he makes
Can you shoot it?
If he misses it, it's a point. If he misses it, it's an act like a.
It's 2 points if he misses.
No, just one.
2 points. Okay. Wait.
And he greened it. That's the present.
Well, I was gonna ask which basket you're shooting for.
Well, obviously recycle because we need to save the environment.
Okay. What other ordered pair should I try? Yeah, Eli. -2, -4. That makes me a little bit nervous because it's kind of close to the dotted lines. I want to be safely in that region. Go for it. What is it? -1, -4. Okay, so then I plug that in. I go -4 is less than or equal or less than 2 times -1, -2. So that worked. So far we need a double check. And then -4 is greater than -3. No. So that's bad. So that region's no good. -4, -4. Here's a hint. What is true? What does have to happen with y? It's got to be bigger than -3. 2, 2. 2, 2 right here. Okay, so 2, 2 is 2 less than 4. Is 2 greater than -3. Oop. So that's a double check. So that region is where we shade. Next one.
Technically, I know you want to be like the habit of like trying to find like which section of shade and stuff. But if you can't you just plug these in the decimal?
You can.
You just don't want us to do that.
I never take it. I don't want you to. I want you to know how to do it without it. Will I know that you use it? No. So I'd like you to try not to use it and then check with it. Okay. All right. Next one. Let's race on this one. On your marks, get set, go. We're racing. No helicopters, please.
I'm not.
We're racing. Did I do it right?
I got that too. I got that.
I don't know about you, but I know we like to solve for y, but it's not bad practice to know the make a table. Oh, you didn't finish?
Can you try negative? Can you plug in negative 4 and 3?
You
The same region.
and it worked. -4. So we'd go 3 is greater than or equal to 9.
That's not right.
Plugging in 0 is how we're kind of supposed to graph the standard form. If I plug in 0 for x, that becomes 0, and then that means my intercept is 3. Plugging in for 0 for y to make this true would be 2. So those are my intercepts. 0, 3, and 2, 0. Dotted or solid. Okay. The next one says x is less than 5. So that is a up and down line dotted right at x equals 5. And the last one, y is 3, is a solid line through 3. How many regions do we have now?
5.
4. No, wrong.
4.
Wait, if you keep going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. No, there's 7.
So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, 7.
I was saying on the grass.
So I want to show you. Yeah, there's some stuff over here that's. So let's talk a minute about less than or greater than. So we talked about this. Y is less than means that we're going to shade below. Okay? If Y is greater than, that means we're going to shade above it. And let's talk about X for a second. If X is less than, where are less than numbers with X? Which way? To the left. And if X is greater than, that's to the right. Now it has to be y is less than or X is less than. Okay. So this one right here, even though I said we don't want to do it that way, we kind of want to solve this for Y. Because we kind of need to know, is it X is greater than or Y is greater than and Y is less than. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Subtract 3x from both sides. You could. So I'm going to take my pencil now, and I'm going to kind of lightly shade the regions that are true. So let's start with the first one. This is a y is greater than. Where should I shade for y is greater than? Above. That is this dotted line. So I'm going to gently shade above that dotted line. And I'm going to come to a point where I'm either going to make one area very dark or I'm going to even bring out my eraser. So I did that one. The next one, x is less than 5. Which way is that? To the left, right, of this dotted line. So that one is this way. And then finally, y is less than 3. Down. Where did I shade 3 times? Inside the triangle. So this is the shaded region.
Wait, sorry. Can you explain that one more time?
Now, and I will. So now, I want you to ask the question. I have every region shaded here, but can you tell by looking at it which region I say is the shaded region? Yeah, so I don't have to erase those other marks because I made it much darker. If you have 2 regions that it's questionable, okay, then we'll talk. We'd have to look at that. Dom, I'm going to talk about it on the next one. Okay, so even though I like the technique of using the intercepts, and I'm going to go ahead and do that again, I'm also going to solve them for y. The first one, if I plug in 0 for x, then my y has to be -2. If I plug in 0 for y, then my x has to be 3. Okay, so that's my first graph, 0, -2, and 3, 0. And it is a dotted line. It needs to be dotted because it doesn't have the equal part. This is always dotted. Okay, if it has the equal part, then it's a solid line. The next one, if I plug in 0 for x, then y is -4. Plug in 0 for y, x is 6.
So cool.
Which I think goes off my graph, right? So we'll just go with it. Also dotted. They have the same slope. Yep. So now I want to convert these. So if I convert the first one, yeah. I plug in 0 for x, and then I ask myself, what does y have to be to make it true? To make it equal 6? Because these lines are, when does it equal? Yeah, so it was -2. And then when y equals 0, then it's 3. Okay. All right, so if I were to convert these, I didn't give myself much room for this, but this would end up being -3y is greater than -2x plus 6, divide by -3. When I divide by that negative, change the sign. And really all I care about is what part of this equation. I don't even care about that because I've already graphed it. All I care about it is this. That says y is less than. That's the first one, which was this one. Where does less than get shaded? Below, which was this graph. So I'm going to shade below on this one. On the next one, when I solve for it, I get -3y is less than -2x plus 12. Divide by -3, I'm going to get y is greater than. And again, that's all I care about. So that's up. So where is the shading in both? In the middle. Yeah, Maya?
So I got shading in the middle, but all I had to do was I just plugged in 4, -1. I didn't
Brilliant. So there's two different ways of kind of approaching this. You can know less than or greater than, or you can just test points.
I'm just gonna test points.
Okay. I think that's easier until we get to these ones. Okay. But we'll talk about it. All right. So the next one, we want to write the system. So basically, we need to know what the equation is for each of these. So I don't know what my symbol is going to be, but I can see that my y-intercept is 2, and my slope is 1, 2, 3. Now it's going by 2, so that's 6 over 2. 3. I know, it's kind of hard to see, isn't it?
Like yours are showing up better than mine are. Mine's just white.
Yeah, I can't see that.
Now I'm talking about this line. And where is the shading in relation to that line? Is it above it or below it? We don't want to say left or right. We want to say above or below. Above. The shading is above this one. So that means its y is greater or equal to, because it was a solid line.
What? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, the wires.
It's going by 2's.
Oh.
Okay. Now here's where having a second color is kind of good, because then I can draw my second equation using the second color. My slope, I'm just going to go down here to pick points. It looks like it's 2 over 2, and it starts at -2. So that's y is 1x minus 2. And if I look at this line, it's a solid line, and the shading is under. So what do I say for under? Less than. Do you agree that that method is definitely easier than figuring out which ordered pairs work? Just so that I am super clear, I'm going to write my answer down here. My answer is, yeah, thank you. Good call. Less than or equal to. y is greater than or equal to 3x plus 2, and y is less than or equal to x minus 2. Here's something you got to know about Desmos. These are really hard to do with Desmos because it's a bunch of guess and check, right? What the state knows is you get to use Desmos, so they don't ask you questions that you could just put into Desmos usually. They give you questions like this.
Last year they gave us questions that you could just put into Desmos and they would give you.
Now, let me take that back. Maybe like 10% of the questions you could just put into Desmos. But they purposely ask questions where they know, because you have this tool, I'm not going to just ask you just graph it. They're going to ask you to do something like this. You could put your answer in Desmos and check it, but you can't just throw it into Desmos and then, oh, this is the answer, right? All right, next one. Yeah. So this right here starts at, is it going by ones now? No, twos. So it's at -4. My slope is up 1 or up 2 over 4. So that is y is 1/2 x minus 4. And I'm looking at this. And in relation to the green line, it's shaded below, which means it is less than or equal because of the solid line. Now I got to do the other one. Y something, it starts at 0 in its slope. I think it's 4 over 2 negative or -2. And if I look at this line, I got to be careful because it is a dotted line, so I shouldn't change it from a dotted line. But where's the shading in relation to the red line? Above. So it's greater than. Yeah. Jasper. I'll look at it after notes. That sounds interesting. Malia has $500 to purchase water bottle and a pair of socks for a fundraiser for her school. She needs to buy a total of 200 items without buying too many items or too many of just one item. What graph shows the possible number of water bottles and pairs of socks that she could buy? So let's write this equation. No, we need to write the equation. So what are our variables? We got shoes and we got water bottles. Love it. 3x plus 2y. And this is money. What's true about the money? We can't spend over 500. Can we spend 500? Yeah, so we can go equal. It's going to be less than or equal to. She wants a total of 200 items. What's that equation?
It's 3x plus 2y equals 2. Oh, wait.
X plus y
Is less than or greater to.
She wants at least 200 of them.
At least? Okay, so greater than or equal to.
But Mr. McConnell, couldn't you already answer the question no? Because the question is, can she have 75 water bottles and 50 sauce? But if you want to serve them, wait.
Correct. So let's be clear about the question. First thing is that it wants a graph showing the equation, and then it wants us to know if she can do this. And I love that you're like, wait, that's not even 200 items. Of course that doesn't work. So you're right. We know that that's a no. Okay. Can she buy 200? Let's see what the language says. She needs to buy a total of at least 200. Can you buy 200 and have at least 200?
Yeah.
I feel like that's not 200. Would you agree?
At least 200, yeah. It would be greater.
You think equal? Okay. So it wants us to draw a graph. It's kind of nice that they did not give us a graph to work from because these are kind of weird numbers. Let's do intercepts. So for my first graph, if I plug in 0 for x, I need how many? 250. And if I plug in 0 for y, it's going to give us some ugly number, but that's okay. 500 divided by 3 is 166.6 repeating. We're going to go ahead and just because we're going to be very mathematical, but then with our answer, we won't be so mathematical. Okay. That's the first one. Now let's try the second one. My intercepts for my second one are 200 and 200. So now I want to draw a graph. Everything's in the first region.